Secuirty relies on fan support from people like you. If you enjoy my stories and have the generosity to do so, please consider supporting me monthly on Patreon. Alternatively, you can tip me on coffee for a single tip of $3. You would really help me and the channel out, since we all know bills need to be paid. Thank you for your consideration. Also, please remember to like the video, comment something down below, and share the video around, as that improves my standing in the YouTube algorithm. And now, please, enjoy the show. You chewed on a gummy bear when you got a call on your work tablet. It was from the day shift guard, Brian. He was incredibly amused and frustrated. Something you rarely heard from the seemingly always bored man. However, what you did gather was that something happened in the ball pit at the daycare, and only you could handle that. You were the janitor of the mega pizzaplex. It was an interesting and easy job. That did have quite bad pay, but you were fine with that. You lived close by and were a very lazy person. So working as a janitor for mostly an automated establishment was the deal of deals. Most of your job just was using your work tablet to send out janitor bots, to make patrols around the pizzaplex during the daytime to find stains others did not, and screwing in new light bulbs. Well, there were a lot of light bulbs in the pizzaplex. Another duty of yours was cleaning messes left in places a janitorial robot could not go to or reach. The machines were quite simple. In fact, they didn't even have a voice box. They communicated through beeps and boops, but it was fun ordering them around. It felt like your own personal army, and the filth being your enemies. Well, maybe you just had an overactive imagination. When you arrived in the daycare, you were happily surprised. It was late in the evening. There were no children. The only person here was Brian, who was leaning against the entrance door with his arms crossed. Behind you, you were dragging the heavy-duty ball pit cleaning machine. "Oh, thank fuck," said Brian. "Hey, Brian." The man pointed behind himself. "Some kid puked in the goddamn ball pit. Thank fuck it's already evening." He looked at the ground. "Do you have to say that word?" "What? Fuck? Ugh. You're too innocent for this job. Seriously." You blushed at response. Anyways, I'll go home now. Shift has been over for 20 minutes. And I'm not missing my friendly neighborhood fun hour. You blinked. That's a kid's show." He shrugged. "The show has better entertainment value, while high, than SpongeBob, while high." Whenever the talk of weed came up, Brian became so serious. "Wait, are you off it?" His lips quivered. "Yeah. I ran out on Friday and didn't have time to buy new stuff until this morning." You smiled gently. "Well, then, go. Enjoy your night." Brian sighed. "Thanks. I appreciate it." And with that, the day guard left. You entered the daycare with a smile and a quick look around. There was no one here, just as promised. You pulled the ball pit cleaning machine further into the daycare. The machine was a heavy-duty metal construct, with a large vacuum tube to suck up the balls, a rinsing ball for cleaning, ending with a collector container where the balls would reside until the ball pit itself had been cleaned. There were about 80,000 balls in the pit, maybe more, so this would take a while. In fact, there were 3 separate containers for said balls. That's how many there were. If it wasn't for the puke, you'd just eject the balls after they themselves were cleaned. Taking the extra long power cable, you walked over to an outlet located next to the pit. The outlet, for safety reasons, required a key to gain access to. You know, for safety reasons. Didn't want any toddlers to put their fingers in it. And after plugging it in, the machine went to work. It wasn't too difficult of a job. Maybe a little monotone. And it took a while. Your work tablet started beeping once you reached the halfway point. Quickly you checked it. And then you smiled. You were officially on paid overtime. Grinning from ear to ear, you continued your work. You had just finished removing the balls and were about to wash the bottom of the pit when suddenly the boom of shutting down machinery threw you completely off guard. You jumped and watched as light after light shut off as energy from the building was entirely removed. Leaving you in complete and utter darkness and silence. All your hairs were standing up. Your lips quivered. Complete and utter silence around you. It was deafening. Something must have happened. Maybe a fuse was blown? Being this deep in the building, you couldn't even hear the weather outside. You pulled out your tablet once again. The screen was mostly dark, only reading the word disconnected. With an awkward grimace, you turned the tablet around. No, that wouldn't do. The tablet's light barely reached the ground. You were just about to panic when another crash echoed right behind you. You screamed and began running forward in pure fear until your feet hit something hard and you fell forward, crashing face first onto the ground. Luckily, you didn't get knocked out, but your face hurt. Instinctively, you swiped a finger under your nose to check for bleeding. It was a little wet, but not enough to consider bleeding. Slowly, you got on your feet.
Where did my balls go?
You gulped.
I scratched my shell. Don't you think I can't see you? Naughty, naughty. Stealing my balls like a...
That was the daycare attendant. The machine cut off its own sentence, most likely due to its profanity filter. You wondered what he was about to say. Probably something incredibly offensive. You had a few ideas what he might have meant. And you also must have been the one who have caused the crashing sound.
Yeah, it's past your bedtime. So, you're double naughty.
2 red glowing orbs suddenly lit up before you. However, while most people would be afraid in this scenario, you knew that there was no danger from the machines. I don't need nappy time.
What are you talking about?
You blew up your cheeks in frustration. I'm an adult. I work here. You know me. You stomped your foot on the ground. We literally did finger paints last night. The machine's head tilted.
Employee ID, please.
You rolled your eyes. You knew that the attendant had 2 personalities inside of him, but you didn't realize that they both had different memories as well. Sighing, you held up your ID card. You heard the noise of his creaking metal body as he approached you, his eyes coming eerily close to your face, illuminating it in a perfect red glow. Moon's eyes wandered to your employee ID card that hung on your chest.
Scanning complete. Welcome, Miss Janitor. Welcome to my daycare.
You sighed. Uh-huh.
I apologize for the mess. I'm not equipped to deal with stains like that.
The robot pointed somewhere. That much was clear, but it was way too dark, so you just assumed he meant the vomit in the ball pit.
It is a surprisingly rare occurrence that a child releases its disgusting bodily fluids in my daycare.
You thought for a moment, and had to agree. You had worked at Bond's Burgers before, and the ball pit there had gross fluids in it pretty much every second day. One time it even had poop in it. Gross.
I also apologize for my anger. I thought you were a naughty child, taking my precious balls from me.
Well, okay then. Do you know why it's so dark here? The robot tilted his head.
I am not able to establish a connection with the Pizzaplex's camera system. We are dark. I can't even connect to a recharge station. Wait. If we cannot charge, we're gonna die!
The robot began to panic.
Our servos will lock up if we remain turned off for too long.
Raised both hands. I'm sure it's just a fuse. I can fix it. I just need to get to the breaker in the maintenance tunnels, but I forgot my flashlight.
I can help.
His hand took yours suddenly, and you squeaked.
I can see in the dark. As long as my battery is alive, I can guide you, Mrs. Janitor.
That would be golden, you stuttered. The animatronic's hand was surprisingly warm. Made out of hard silicone, it was almost soft too. Why were you feeling this hot now? As Moon guided you through the darkness, you thought and were probably overthinking your body's reaction.
I am detecting a certain moisture building up. Are you sick?
He asked eventually. What do you mean? The machine's head turned towards you, and you stopped moving.
Your hand is building up sweat, Miss Janitor. Are you sure you're feeling healthy?
You blinked. No, just nervous. Okay. Can we please keep going?
Response processed.
His head turned back forward, and your march continued. The maintenance tunnels seemed to be even darker, probably due to the dust and stale air. It was very oppressive and scary. You were glad the robot was by your side. Something behind you made a loud noise. Even though you couldn't see it, it was simply a wrench that had fallen off a crate. Still, though, you shrieked and jumped. You would have fallen if the animatronic wouldn't have reacted quickly. Awkwardly, you are now lying in his arms. And you blushed. How the hell did that happen? Why this position? Without saying a word, he just kept on walking, though, while holding you. One of his large hands was right under your backside, while the other was holding your legs. Lips quivering, you simply allowed him to keep holding you like a bride. But eventually he stopped walking.
I don't have access to the layout of the Pizzaplex due to my missing internet connection.
You pouted. So you've been just going? He shrugged.
Kinda.
You felt deflated. And kinda wished you had some of Brian's wheat right now. So what now? You grumbled.
Do you have a map?
You sighed. Do I look like a map bot? If I had a map, I would have showed you by now. He tilted his head.
There is a map on your work tablet.
It isn't connected. He blinked.
Have you tried pressing the home button to leave whatever menu you were on previously, and then tried selecting offline tour map?
Silence.
Miss Janitor?
Without saying a word, you pulled out your work tablet, turned it on, and then pressed the home button. The disconnected screen disappeared, leaving you with the menu. After a minute of digging through the menus, not only did you find a flashlight application, but also the offline tour map. With quivering lips, you just held it up at the robot's face as he attempted to orientate himself.
Location confirmed. Also, did you really not know that?
5 minutes later, you restored power to the Pizzaplex by replacing one of the breaker's fuses. Ridiculous how such a tiny thing could cause such a dreadful issue. After all this excitement, you weren't really looking forward to heading back up and cleaning the rest of the ball pit. Now, using the online navigation tool on your work tablet, you and your robot companion managed their way back. The Pizzaplex was still quite dark. Most likely it was currently rerouting its energy to the charging stations. You hope the other robots managed to reach them in time. But this meant, for now, Moon was still your partner in crime. As you re-entered the daycare, the robot snickered.
I can't believe you forgot that. At least half of the programs on your tablet work without internet or electricity in the Pizzaplex, required that the tablet is actually charged.
You pouted. If you want your balls back, you better say something nice. Moon chuckled.
Oh, really? Something nice. How about if the balls aren't returned by time the Pizzaplex opens? Tomorrow, you'll most likely be fired.
How could this machine talk to you like that? After tenderly holding you almost the entire time you were in the maintenance tunnels. Reluctantly, you continued the cleanup of the ball pit. Finally, it was time to release the balls.
Wait, allow me to help you,
said the robot as you opened the first ball container. Rolling your eyes, you would have really liked his help clean up the dried puke, but beggars can't be choosers. And after another 10 minutes of carefully spraying the balls in the pit, it was finally over. You checked your clock. 11 p.m. You said disappointed. My shift ended 2 hours ago with closing time. Well, 2 hours of overtime was still some extra money on your paycheck. You were about to leave when Moon grabbed your arm. You blushed and looked up at him.
Well, no time like the present,
he said and pointed at the pit.
This is a virgin ball pit you're looking at. Not a single person entered it.
Well, he was both technically right and technically wrong, but you bit your lower lip, your naughty side finally awakening. He had a point.
I allow you to get in first. After all, you helped me clean my mess.
Looking up at his ever-present grin, it felt more cheeky than usual. You smiled gently. All right. Thank you, you said, before spreading your arms and jumping in. The balls did a great job at feathering your short fall. You laughed happily and threw the balls around. But the robot grabbed his face.
What a mess! What a mess! You're throwing them out the pit!
You stopped in your frolicking. What?
Clean up! Clean up!
The robot went behind the ball pit's guardrail, and soon a few balls were thrown into the pit, with all of them hitting your face. Thankfully, it didn't hurt. Still, you rubbed your face. You did this on purpose, didn't you? His head appeared above the railing.
Of course I did, you rule breaker! I would ban you if you weren't employed!
Then he climbed on top of the small wall and jumped in. With a heavy thud, the machine landed right beside you. For a moment he was completely buried in the ocean of balls. Silently, the machine moved around. Only the faint rustling of the balls indicated where he was. How could he do that? And then, like a shark, he jumped up behind you, pressing his hands on your face before pulling you down with him. The machine took great care not hurting you throughout this, and eventually you managed to catch a moment of clarity and a breath. You are completely submerged in colorful balls. Moon was right under you. His hands were gently draped around your hips. The animatronic allowed you to roll on his arms so you could face him. You were completely out of breath. Now his stupid grin felt smug to you. Well, you really are offendful, aren't you? You said. Part of you was annoyed, the other incredibly happy and amused, and maybe a little turned on. The excitement was making you blush.
For a janitor, you're a very untidy person. I would like that if the untidiness wasn't entirely located in my daycare.
You sighed.
First you take my balls, then you forget your map, making us run about in darkness for after knows how long, and then...
You had enough of this. To shut the machine up, you took a risk and lunged forward, gently pressing your lips onto his big round forehead.
What are you doing?
He shouted. In response, you slightly moved downwards, placing another kiss on his silly nose.
That is so unsanitary!
You were starting to get into this, and the fact his hands began to gently explore your back made it all the better.
I don't know how to compute this!
Your body pressed against his plastic shell. His servos picked up your body's heat. He could feel your excited heartbeat. And then, a crackling noise erupted from him, and then he went limp. You blinked and went on your knees. Did I break you? For a moment there was only silence, but then...
Why did you stop?
His tone was now a little different. Before you could do anything about it, he sat up beside you and wrapped his arms around you. What are you doing? You said uncomfortably. Why were you enjoying this? He gently rubbed his face into your chest. Honestly, what a little perv he was. Oh, I get it. The machines were programmed to react to human kindness. Kissing him must have overloaded him, forcing the animatronic through all the friendship stages he was programmed in seconds. Maybe if he really liked a child, he'd be cuddling them too. After a minute of him silently hugging you, like a toddler, he stood up, forcefully looking away from you. Wait, was he getting shy?
Thank you.
He snapped his fingers and his rope slowly descended. The rope that he used to essentially fly around the room.
I'll see you on your next shift, Miss Janitor. I had a lot of fun with you.
You nodded. See you, Mooney. And with that, the robot lifted himself up to return to his alcove atop the daycare.